Hello there guys, and welcome back to the channel. Hope everybody's doing well, and let's talk about Iron Man Infinity War buff. And I will have a kind of gameplay from the live server as he is right now, and we're gonna have gameplay from the beta server as he's gonna be updated as well. So what has changed for Iron Man Infinity War? So here we go. Incinerate duration increased from 5 seconds to 8 seconds. That is a very noticeable difference. And plasma duration increased from 6 seconds to 10 seconds. And that is pretty much the most important thing that has been done there, as I am going to demonstrate in a moment. Because without synergies in present form, Iron Man Infinity War was borderline unplayable or extremely difficult to manage. Also, plasma damage potency increased from 6,287 to 8,900. Now, this is something that we will have to talk about because it's meant to be increased, but to me it looks like it's doing quite significantly less damage, or at the very least, they have changed a mechanic with heavy attack or something of the sort. Moving on, but keep in mind that plasma damage potency. Also, auto block will no longer attempt to trigger during dodge or evade. Fair enough. Heavy attack armor break potency increased, slightly. It's still not a massive armor break by any means. Also, special attack 2, hammer arm attack armor break chance has gone from 40 to 65%. It's neat. Increased hammer arm armor break potency tiny bit. This is basically not noticeable difference. There's really irrelevant change there. Increase the incinerate immunity failure armor break duration from 20 to 25 seconds. Fair enough. Increased incinerate immunity failure armor break duration. Well, I suppose that's meant to be effectiveness there, from 379 to 1433. And also increased chance to stun per armor break from 34 to 50%. So basically with 2 armor breaks you have a guaranteed stun. So let's see how it looks like when changed. This first match is on the live servers, where we have Iron Man Infinity War going up against Winter Soldier, and we are going to quickly notice the main problem that Iron Man Infinity War has. And obviously he is a damage ramp-up character. He has actually the potential for some of the highest damage in a game in a very long type of fight. But in short fights, obviously he also suffers from quite a slow and painful ramp-up, because you do have to build up to your level 3 or level 2 and level 1, and then combine them into plasmas and go rinse and repeat, and meanwhile pray for a good AI. So the base start of every Iron Man Infinity War fight, more or less should be, spamming some heavy attacks to get that armor break damage potency, and ideally have those armor breaks active when you activate your level 2, because that is going to help you with the stun chance. And now I am going here for my level 2. We can see the damage isn't great. This is a rank 3 6-star, by the way. You can see Incinerate dealing 491 damage, and we have Shock. And now we are going to combine it into a plasma with a heavy attack, which is quite important. And now we do have 1067 damage. And that has always been kind of like the trick with Iron Man Infinity War, that you do want to combine those incinerates and shocks with a heavy attack in order to basically double the potency of your plasma. And now at this point the plasma is ticking away, working in the background. Solid, we are going to drop a heavy attack here. And we can see that the plasma is, expiring fairly quickly here. And here I am going to go for my level 2. Everything's still, looking okay. He's definitely not like any sort of damage beast. But one missed parry, and that's it. My plasma is gone. My ramp up's gone, so I had to basically restart the fight. And I did it again. And something similar happens, where the AI just does not want to cooperate with me. And this is even in Realm of Legends. He threw that special 2 too late. Here we can see that he throws his special 2 after my heavy attack. And that is enough. I don't have... Well, we dropped the plasma. So that was the problem with Iron Man Infinity War before, but it is quite important to notice the damage number of the plasma before. Right, in the current state, the way we need to play Iron Man Infinity War in most cases is to have Stealth Suit Spider-Man synergy, and this is the gameplay with Stealth Suit Spider-Man synergy. And I also added in Sorcerer Supreme just for some slightly increased armor break potency. So there are only 3 champions on the team right now. Stealth Suit Spider-Man is the main one, and without showing you the full fight here, we are gonna go with basic same setup. I drop my level 2, level 1. And here is important to note. We can see that plasma is still 1067 per tick. But with this synergy, we can see that they are lasting significantly longer. And once you do kind of have your initial plasma, it kind of can become easier to control the fight because you do have some power control mechanics working in your favor. And especially with the stealth suit synergy, you do typically have enough time, enough leeway to maintain that plasma, which we're going to see that drastically helps the fight duration as well. Because at the moment we are 80 hits in and Winter Soldier's only lost 32% of his health, but the rest of his health, so more than half of the total health, is gonna go down very, very quickly after we manage to ramp up that initial plasma. Now we're gonna go on and double up on plasmas. Here again, I combine them with a heavy attack, so now they're doing 2133 damage, and I do have more potent power control on my repulsor attacks now. We can see that he's losing power every time I strike him with a repulsor attack, which is kind of a cool way of preventing opponents from getting level 3. I'm on my way building to my next special. Unfortunately, it did not have armor breaks that active, but it's fine. We're just going to drop it because it's not going to make that much of a change. Oh no, I still go for an armor break after all. So we do drop the armor break just to slightly increase the damage in my level 2. Now we're going with that. We do get the stun. We obviously have the incinerate. I'm pretty much immediately going to go for my level 1. But at this point, you can see that he's pretty much dead. And this is Iron Man Infinity War with 2 synergies. Slightly increased armor break potency and Stark Enhanced Spider-Man, giving you leeway. And now we're going to move on to the beta forum. And the changes in action. Realistically, virtually all of the minor number tweaks, in my opinion, are barely noticeable and do not make much of a difference in the fight because those armor breaks themselves, they're not super potent. Like, Silver Surfer has much easier access to 3 armor breaks that are way more potent. I think the most potent armor break this guy can have is like, 1400, and that only activates if you fail to incinerate or fail to armor break opponent. And his regular armor breaks are like 700, something like that. So they're not great, they're not big. But the most important change, and the one thing that was super important for Iron Man Infinity War, is the increase in incinerate and plasma duration. And now we can see that an incinerate in its base is lasting significantly longer. And therefore, by definition, he is now a champion that you can actually try and use in some trickier matchups. Here is the weird thing, and here is the problem though. Previously, our plasma dealt like 1050 damage. Now it's doing 915. In the buff notes, the plasma potency was meant to be increased quite significantly. It was meant to go from 6,000 to nearly 9,000. So it had to have like a massive, noticeable, like 50% damage increase. But it's actually less potent than it was. So I do think it's a bug or something. Here we can see plasma and incinerate. It's only 1200, which barely is, more than previously. We just had the plasma active. Now we add in a shock. We're going to go to 2 plasmas active now. And it's only 1800. And it used to be well over 2000. It used to be like 2080 or 2100 something. So I don't know what has happened there. I hope Kabam fixes. It could be because he doesn't double his damage or attack on the heavy attack hit anymore. Or it could be something else entirely. I'm not entirely sure as of yet, but something is wrong. Because his plasma, if anything, should be doing significantly more damage than less. That put aside, which is extremely important, and I do hope that Kabam catches it, I will try to point it out for them, something is wrong with that plasma. Either they have screwed up his heavy attack, which is meant to double the potency of the plasma, or they have screwed up the plasma damage itself, but that's something to be addressed. However, now, this was the fight without any synergies, and we can see that because of the decrease in plasma damage, it actually took slightly longer than previously, kind of like with synergies, but the only and main impact, for the damage with those synergies was a minor increase in armor break. So because his plasma isn't doing as much damage anymore as he's used to, he actually went down in the damage output, which I hope is a bug. Ultimately, all of those armor break tweaks, I think, are pointless. I think they haven't achieved virtually anything. But the most important thing is that he is now a playable character. As in, like, you can actually try and use him offensively, and you have a chance of keeping your plasmas alive and active without synergies. Now, this is the gameplay with the same synergies on beta server after he has been changed. But again, we're going to definitely notice and feel quite heavily that that reduction in the plasma damage, which for whatever reason is there. But most important thing in this fight I want you to pay attention to is the duration. When you have the increased plasma and incinerate duration plus the Starkship Spider-Man synergy, then he's like super easy and comfortable to play. You never worry about timers anymore. Where, you know, his buff duration increase is very good, very noticeable. You know, there will still be times when opponent's AI is kind of sketchy and you might not get that opening in time in order to refresh the plasma or incinerate. But now look at how long that incinerate is lasting. And now the plasma itself is just lasting forever. So Iron Man Infinity War definitely has been made much more playable character. So if need be, he can be used offensively now. The problem, obviously, and I never expected him to be, you know, hitting super hard or something like that. The problem is definitely the fact that his plasma damage has been reduced, or something has gone wrong there. And everything else that they have written about him, where they have, you know, changed up the potency of the armor break, slightly increased percentages of proccing the stun and things like that, I think all of that amounts for effectively nothing. The only meaningful difference that has been done to him is increase of plasma and incinerate duration. Armor break buffs have been, you know, barely noticeable. Even on paper, they looked quite, you know, pathetic at times. As in, like, on the level 2, it went from 678 to 716. That's like, what? Not even 10%. It's like 5% increase in that. You know, some of those things definitely seem kind of like more of a filler and fluff. And you know, not actually doing anything. The increase in duration can potentially now see maybe him occasionally being used offensively if need be somewhere, because he does have a great utility kit on him. However, ultimately, I still, you know, kind of hoped for a bit more. I was hoping for more potent armor breaks, for longer duration armor breaks, where you might try to stack them up, where he can actually do, you know, somewhat decent damage with his hits as well, and not just 100% rely on plasma. So I do hope that they are not done with this buff. I do hope when this buff goes live, we can see more potent numbers on his armor breaks. Most importantly, perhaps more longer durations on his armor breaks as well, so he can stack up a few more. And I hope the plasma situation gets resolved, because as he's definitely been made playable, but that's solely to the increase in the duration of incinerate and plasma. All of the other changes basically amount for no difference in his damage output and him still being like super slow and stuff like that. And I do think that he doesn't need that much, but he needs slightly bit more to be allowed to shine. So ultimately, that is the gameplay. The damage comparison here, as you can see, you know, 139, 3 minutes in beta with the same synergies, and in real time 239. So he actually ended up being slightly slower with his synergy team, like in the beta version, and that is again because of whatever is happening with that plasma. And we can see clearly that armor break durations or armor break potency tiny increases aren't doing anything for him at all. So yeah, it is kind of funny that currently in live servers this fight was shorter with the synergy team. The difference is obviously where without the synergy team, without anything, he is actually able to finish the fight. But when it comes to his damage output, which was not good or even acceptable in shorter fights. They effectively have done nothing, and I hope that it is a bug, because otherwise, you know, he has even less damage in the shorter fight. So I don't know what's happening there, but I do sincerely hope that Kabam addresses it, and I do hope that Kabam gives him some more potent armor breaks and increase the duration of those armor breaks as well. Let me know what you guys think, and I'm gonna catch you guys soon. See ya. Hello there guys, and welcome back to the channel. So we have all the information about the next